Lori, I just want to say thank you so much for helping me launch the Being Brave podcast. I couldn't have done it without your help. You made it so easy. I kept putting it off, and you said, Karen, no, you can do it. And we came together, things that I thought the tech was going to be overwhelming, and you made it so simple. You walked me through each and every step. It's like having a girlfriend hold your hand to make it all happen. And I was scared to start it, and you just kept encouraging me and gave me the confidence to just keep taking that next best step. You made it so easy. You believed in me. And oh my gosh, it's been so fun and so exciting. And not only did you walk me through all the processes and help me set it up, you gave me the confidence to keep going. And you keep sending me just lovely messages, and I love it. So you're still there and encouraging me along the way. So thank you so much. I so appreciate you and for believing in me and helping me get the podcast out there to help celebrate 1 million women and their stories and voices.
Hi, I'm Lori Hardy, and I help business owners go from frustration to ease when it comes to podcasting. If you're looking to boost your credibility and grow your business but feel overwhelmed by the process, I've got you covered. With over 30 years of experience in top radio markets, I know how to make your voice heard. My 7-day Podcast Pro program helps you move from scattered and unsure to confidently launching and maintaining a podcast that connects with your audience, builds your legacy. It's done with ease and minimal time. Plus, I'll share insider tips to help you rank in the top 5%.
As kids, a parent has a friend over and they say, "Hi, John, what do you want to be when you grow up?" And it's like, "I want to be a fireman. I want to be a rock star." And then kids go into this land of make-believe and they imagine, and the sky's the limit. And then we start growing up, we get a career and job or whatever, and we start a family, and all of a sudden we get to be retirement age, and you look back and you go, "Why do I feel so empty?" And then they start to realize that they were living someone else's dream. They're living their parents' dream, or whoever raised their dream, or their professor's dream in college.
Has your life, your dreams been interrupted? Good news. It is possible to reinvent our lives. People are doing it every day, and some are brave enough to share the struggles, disappointments, and challenges. If you are looking for a new beginning, a do-over, or to rediscover your passion, maybe even find a new one, then grab a cup of coffee and let's talk. Interrupted, Act 2, Reinventing Your Legacy, with your host, Coach Lori.
John Kippen is an author, he is a magician, he has a documentary, but he is also a resilience and empowerment coach. And I love what your tagline is, "I'm possible." Welcome, John.
Well, thank you, Lori. I'm happy to be here.
What a plethora of things that you've done.
Thank you. You know, I live my life with the idea that it's better to ask for forgiveness than permission. And that has bit me in the butt numerous times, I have to admit. But it's also given me some of the greatest opportunity I would never have had if I didn't just say, "Hey, that's interesting. Let me go pursue that," or "Let me go and do that."
Let's talk about your resilience and empowerment coaching.
A little of my backstory. I grew up in the Los Angeles, Southern California area. Was born to two great parents, both attorneys. My mom was the first woman public defender in Los Angeles. Yeah. And my dad had its own private practice. And I didn't want for anything. I had everything I needed. I grew up. I got involved in theater. I just followed every opportunity that presented itself. I believed I was invisible. I could do anything. I built a computer consulting practice out of college that served me well for many, 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 many decades. And all of a sudden, I was struck with a brain tumor the size of a golf ball. They pretty much said, "We need to operate within the next 4 or 5 days or you're going to die," because it was displacing your brainstem. And they gave me no options. Fortunately, I was at the House Ear Clinic downtown, which is one of the premier places for this kind of surgery in the country. And I said, "Okay, let's just do it." They didn't give me a choice. So I went in for surgery. It was a 14-hour surgery. I remember waking up in surgical recovery, and it was like I was 50 meters down in a pool trying to swim to the surface. And I could hear my name being called, John, John. But it was so frustrating because I couldn't get to the surface. I don't know how long that lasted. It seemed like an eternity. It was probably 2 or 3 minutes. But when I came to, my dad was sitting holding my hand on the side of the bed. I looked around, and I wear glasses. So I looked around for my mom, and I didn't see her. So I asked my dad for my glasses, and he handed them to me. And I tried to put them on, and I realized that I couldn't because the bandages were preventing me from, so I had to kind of jury-rig my glasses. And I looked, and there my mom was standing way across the room with a look on her face of one of horror. Like, what did these butchers do to my poor son's face? And at that time, I didn't realize my face was paralyzed. I had no clue. I just realized when I woke up that the dizziness that I had suffered for months with was gone. And I was elated that dizziness was gone. And then my mom handed me her compact mirror. And I looked at my face, and I was like, holy crap, what the hell happened? But I was always a glasses half full kind of guy. So I waited for the surgeon to come in, and I asked them about the face, and they were like, I wouldn't worry, John. We think when we closed the incision, there was some swelling, which caused the facial nerve to be traumatized. And once the swelling goes down, we have every confidence that it'll come back. I was positive, spent 4 more days in the hospital. I went home and started to heal, and then coughed, and I had spinal fluid running down the back of my head from a leak in this incision. So they tried to fix it with compression bandages, which didn't work. And I just said, enough is enough. You're going to operate again and fix what you screwed up the first time. And they did. And that was only an overnight stay in the hospital. And I went home, and then I could really start healing. And I went back to work right away because I could, with talking to clients and checking emails, and I had to take a lot of naps, and so things moved on, and I stayed at home. I hid from cameras and mirrors for over 12 years because I didn't like the way I looked. Finally, I got so frustrated that I was reminded of my childhood love for performing magic, and there's a private club in Los Angeles called the Magic Castle. And I joined, and they immediately accepted me with open arms, and because the magic community is a unique bunch of people. And I started lurking around and looking for opportunities to show people a trick or two, and then got the courage to actually sit down and actually start performing a 20 or 30-minute show. But people at that point were distracted by my face, not in a negative way. They were just curious. Oh, did he have Bell's palsy? Did he have a stroke? Why is his face paralyzed? But that distracted them from enjoying the magic. So I immediately changed my act, and I would come out and say, hi, guys, welcome. I've been doing magic. My name is John. I've been doing magic all my life. But in 2002, I had a brain tumor. And funny enough, when they cut up my head, they traumatized my facial nerve. But as I recovered, I realized I'd acquired some new skills from that surgery. And I paused, and I wait for the audience to get on the edge of their chairs, wanting to know what possible superpowers, as I call them, I acquired from having brain surgery. And I looked to my right and my left like it's the biggest secret, and I lean in, and I whisper in a loud voice, guys, I am able to visualize people's thoughts. And then I do some mentalism magic. And what that did was two things. Number one is it answered the questions that they were didn't have the courage to ask. And number two, that shared something personal about me. That opened my heart to them. Wanted them to see the real John David Kippen. I would have magicians watch my shows and marvel at what kind of connection I could make with audiences. And they didn't have that superpower because I was an open book. I celebrated my difference. I wore my facial paralysis on my sleeve as a badge of honor. And I don't know where I came up with that idea. It just popped up in my head one day. It was just something I needed to do. And the more I performed, the more I attracted people to me, and not a physical, sexual way, but in an emotional, John's been through the ringer and he's standing in my shoes. Oh my God. He understands me. He gets me. He gets my trauma, no matter what it is. And I had some amazing moments where I convinced people to fight cancer for the third time and to stop hiding from life. There's one story where at Magic Castle, there was a second floor area, a hallway, and I was looking for a group to do a show, and this woman dressed in all baggy black clothes, with a funny hat that reminded me of a witch's hat, was walking down the hallway, and as she approached, I said, "Hi, how are you?" And she gave me this look like, "Just leave me the heck alone." And I could tell she didn't want to be here, that her friends had drug her there, and she was dealing with something really heavy. So, of course, I ignored her and followed her and caught up with the group. And I said, "Guys, having a good time?" And they're like, "Oh, yeah." I said, "Yeah, but have you seen any really good close-up magic?" And they shrugged their shoulders. I said, "Come on, let's go." And we went over to this little table in the corner, and I sat them down. And the woman in black clothes, her name was Darren, I put her to my right. And I made the magic show about her. My goal for that 30-minute show was to get Darren to smile. That was it. Period. I just wanted her to start having a good time. And as I started performing and making her the superstar of the show, she sat up straight and she ditched the funny hat. And she started smiling and her eyes started to dance. And I could tell whatever baggage she had with her was gone. And the performance ended, and the audiences normally would clap and thank me and move on. But this group just sat there, wanted more. So I shared the story about how I had hid from cameras and mirrors for 12 years because I didn't feel good in my own skin. And that all changed August 3rd, 2017, when I went to my first magic convention in Las Vegas. And it's the second largest magic convention every year. And I was amongst these great mentors of mine, these great magicians. And I said, damn it, I want to take pictures with these magicians. So I built the courage, the fortitude to go up and ask to take pictures with these magicians. And they all said yes. And I got home and I uploaded the photos to my computer. And it dawned on me, if these great minds in magic had no trouble taking a picture with me, what was my problem? And that was the beginning of my healing moment. That's where I really started to understand that my facial difference did not need to define me if I didn't let it, because I had acquired the skill to allow people to see who I was for me, look past my scars and into my soul, into my heart. So many people said, God, if John could do it, why can't I? Being different is your superpower became my mantra. All of a sudden I realized that I had no idea that I was going to start helping people. I just wanted to entertain them. But through that entertainment, I realized that I had powers of telling a good story of what I went through and how I overcame my adversity. They were able to hold on to as hope that maybe someday that they would get that revelation in their life. I lived my life feeling that it's better to ask for forgiveness than permission. And that's bit me in the butt a couple times, I have to admit. But it's also given me some of the greatest opportunities in my life that I would never have had. When one of my heroes in the world, Alex Trebek, came out with his cancer diagnosis on national television, I was so touched by his strength. And I found his daughter, Nikki, and I said, Nikki, I need to perform for your dad. I've helped people put their cancer in perspective and enjoy their time even when going through cancer treatments. And I need to do that for your dad. And I'm not going to take no for an answer. And so they hired me to do magic at Alex's 75th birthday party. There are videos on my website with me performing. If you go to johnkippen.com, you'll see videos of me performing for Alex Trebek. And after the show, he was so engaged because he was so smart. But he was like me, he was very inquisitive and needed to understand how things worked. And that's not what you do as a magician. You fool them. You lead them down the wrong path, and all of a sudden they get to an end and they're frustrated. But after the show, he and I went into a private room at a restaurant, and we sat there for a few minutes. And I said, Alex, I wanted you to know that I seeked you out, and because I think I can help you. And I wanted you to know how much you meant to me, my family, and millions of people around the world who watch you at 7 o'clock every night, no matter what they're doing, if they're cooking or finishing dessert or whatever, that TV is on in the background because they're listening to your wealth of knowledge. I just wanted to thank you from me and the entire community of people who are Jeopardy fans. And he started welling up and he said, John, no one ever takes the time to say thank you for my life's work. And I said, well, let me do that on behalf of everybody, because you are an amazing individual and you've done more for society than any politician has ever done, because you talk to us as individuals. And it was one of my proudest achievements, and that wouldn't have happened if I didn't just find his daughter and say, hey, Nikki, I'm going to perform with your dad. Okay?
That was brave.
It wasn't, though. It was a moral imperative. I didn't look at it as a stepping outside my comfort zone. No, I looked at it as something I needed to do. I needed to help him. And that's how I work with my clients. I get invested in their success and I help them see the things that are holding them back in their lives. And they all come down to limiting beliefs. We talked a little bit before we started recording that adults don't dream anymore. I tell the story about when I was a little kid and my parents would have friends, adult friends over, and of course they would say, "Hi, John, what do you want to be when you grow up?" And I would imagine, and I would say, "I want to be a fireman." "No, I think I want to be a doctor." "No, wait, I want to be a rock star." And then I would go into my room and grab a couple rulers and start banging on everything I could, like I'm playing the drums, and start playing my air guitar. And I'm in this land of make-believe where everything is possible. And I could be there for an hour, 2 hours by myself, just imagining what it was like to come out on stage in front of 1,000 people in the audience and play my favorite song on a guitar or sing, and then all of a sudden we start growing up and we get a job and we build a career and we build a family and we stop dreaming. And then we get to retirement age and you look back and you go, is that all there was? Why do I feel so empty? And the answer is because you were living someone else's dream. You're living your mom or your dad's dream or your grandma's dream or your person who raised your dream or your instructor's dream, but not your dream. And what I try to drill into all my clients' heads is that it's never too late to start dreaming again. We do exercises where we dream. So we start daydreaming, and then I help them translate those into night dreams where the imagination is set free. It's an amazing exercise because so many people in today's society are miserable. Our world is so divided. My parents died in 2017 and 2018, respectively, and I'm kind of glad they're not here to see where we are today. We're in a really tough shape. And it's because we're letting politicians make decisions for us. And yeah, we can't control everything, but we can control how we show up in the world. We can control how we interact with others and act as other people's cheerleaders. And really listen. So many times friends will post on social media and the post doesn't sound like them. And so many people just ignore it, say, "Oh, John's having a bad day." It's not that. It's that they're crying out for help. They're unconsciously putting out a negative vibe. And it's our job as friends to stop what we're doing. Notice them. Call them and say, "Hey, Lori, what's going on? That didn't sound like you. That's not the Lori I love. What's going on? How can I help?" Just taking a moment to be present with someone and just listen is the most amazing gift you can give another human being. During the pandemic, I invented a game called Rolodex Roulette. A Rolodex is this thing with this little spindle which got plastic cards or paper cards, cardboard, where you staple people's business cards and it becomes your address book. Well, today's society, we have our phones or contacts. And the way you play Rolodex Roulette is you scroll up and down on your list of contacts without looking and you stop on a name. And that's who you call that day, just to say hi. Just say, "Hey, I was thinking about you, Lori. I just want to check in, see how things are going." And no one ever gets those kind of calls. And it catches them off guard because they think you want something from them. And when you just say, "No, I don't have any expectations other than to have a wonderful conversation and check in and support you," the conversations start a little rough because they're so surprised. 30 minutes, half hour, an hour, hour and a half pass, and you both look at your watches and go, "My God, was this an amazing conversation? I'm going to start playing that game." Because it allows us to connect again. The other thing about this game is that we all have those people in our contacts that we had a falling out with. We don't really remember all the details. We just know we're not about to be the person to mend that fence, to make that first olive branch reaching out. Well, the game gives you that plausible deniability. You find a person in your contacts you had a falling out with, and you call them and you say, "Before you get started, Lori, I know we haven't spoken in a long time, but I'm playing this game I learned from my friend John called Rolodex Roulette. And I landed on your name, and you're the person I have to call. Those are the rules. How are you? What have I missed for the last 10, 20 years we have been in touch? How are you really?" Immediately, this disarms any of the hatred or ill feelings that either of you had. We kindle friendships and relationships that way because it takes that responsibility of you being that first person to reach out and makes it not an issue anymore. I have a 14-week coaching program that I have reversed engineered my recovery of hiding for 12 or 13 years. And all the little things that I learned along the way that made me who I am today. I'm constantly asked, if you had a time machine and you could go back to a week before your surgery and make that tumor disappear, and I know you're a magician, so you probably could do it, would you? And my answer is no. Although it was the most difficult time of my life, it has brought out who I really am as a human being, and I wouldn't trade it for the world. My face is paralyzed. It's not getting any better. And I chose not to have plastic surgery to try to fix it. I'm part of very many Facebook groups of people who have facial paralysis for one reason or another. And I looked at their before and after pictures, and they're all happy with their outcomes from surgery because they have to be, because they spent $25,000 and 6 months healing, and they got to be happy with it. And I look at them and I'm going, they're no better off. They don't look any better. And of course, I keep that to myself. But I understand that, again, my face does not define me, and it's a conscious choice. So that's really my story, and I'm sticking to it.
I love that your thing is I'm possible. It's a reverse of impossible. How did you come to that?
I just was thinking one day, you needed to call my coaching practice something. As a magician, I turned the impossible into possible. And then all of a sudden it just clicked in my brain that why don't I call my coaching practice turning the impossible into possible? Because that's what I'm able to do. We are our own worst enemy. We get in our own way. No one else has the power to keep us from being who we really want to be. It's us that have that power.
Yeah, that's so true.
And when you really learn, who cares what other people think? That doesn't matter. And if a friend of yours can't accept you for who you are, they shouldn't be your friend. There are other people out in the world who are going to accept you for who you are.
I think it was Maya Angelou that said, other people's opinion of you is none of your business.
Yeah, exactly. You got to listen to it because maybe they have a point, but you've got to evaluate it. Step outside yourself and see what they're saying and see if it's true. And if it's not true, screw them.
Well, John, behind you is one of my favorite actresses. You want to tell us about your relationship with Jamie Lee Curtis?
Well, she not only wrote the foreword to my book, Playing the Hand You Were Dealt.
Playing the Hand You Dealt.
Playing the Hand You Were Dealt. I was introduced to her as a computer guy by her assistant, who I had worked with at a previous company. And she hired me to come over and help her with her IT. Because she is the busiest woman in Hollywood and had no patience for system errors and technical glitches. She just had no patience for it. I came over and I met her, and day one, she knew me before the surgery and after the surgery. And as soon as I had surgery, she adopted me. She has 2 other adopted kids, Annie and Ruby. But I think she kind of saw a place in her life and in her heart for me too. We developed this amazing bond, amazing friendship. I remember sitting there in front of my computer after a good friend of mine said, "Hey, I want to do this documentary on you. I love your story." I was like, okay, that sounds great, until I realized I would be paying for the documentary. When I sat there at Jamie's and she was sitting to my side and I was staring at her computer and trying to get the courage to ask her, would she be a part of the documentary? And every time I tried to open my mouth and get those words out, nothing came out. And all of a sudden I felt her eyes boring into the side of my head after I'd shared that this documentary was potentially going to happen. And I remember her saying, and I ignored her. And she said, and? And I looked at her face and I sheepishly said, Jamie, will you be in my documentary, please? And she said, bleep, yes. And I immediately got on the phone and called my director and I said, okay, Jamie's on board. She was amazing in it. She shared things about me that I didn't know about myself. As a present to her, she was a great photographer too. I had dabbled with photography. And I noticed in her house, she didn't have a recent family portrait. I said, on your birthday, I'm coming over, and I just want you guys all to be dressed very nicely. She said, what do you have in plan? And I said, don't worry about it. Just be there. At 11 o'clock, I knocked on the door, and she answered, and I came in with my lights and my camera, and I said, I'm going to take that portrait that you don't have. And the whole family got around. We picked about 3 or 4 different locations, and I took 150 photographs and found the one that just said it all. Everybody was looking at the camera, everybody was smiling, everybody was in the moment. And then I went away and printed that huge and had it professionally framed, and a week later I came back and I presented that photo to her on her birthday. She still says that was one of the greatest gifts she'd ever received. It's our job as human beings to be present in other people's lives, because the amount of love that you give, you get tenfold in return. It's just who I become. I do speaking engagements from time to time, but I love sitting here in front of my Zoom camera with pictures of me hugging Jamie Lee Curtis in the background and all of the magazine articles that I've been featured in, and just say, look, let's really be honest with each other. And let me help you unravel what you're going through. Let's find some joy in your life. People ask me, John, what's the meaning of life? And everybody thinks about that question. And my answer is to fill your life with many moments of joy as possible. That's the meaning of life. It's that simple. The more joyful moments you have, the more joyful memories with others, the better off you are, the happier you are. It's not money, it's those memories. That's what you take to your grave with.
I love that. Well, John, you have a book called Playing the Hand You're Dealt. Where can we get that?
You can get it at Amazon, or you can get it on Barnes & Noble, or you can go to johnkippen.com and fill out a form, and I'll sell you a copy that's signed if you want. I'm dyslexic. Was diagnosed as learning disabled before dyslexia was a thing. And so I don't read for pleasure, which makes writing a book a bitch. And the book, I'm a theater guy, so the book there are no chapters in the book. They're acts and scenes. The introduction is called The Overture.
I love it.
The conclusion is called The Curtain Call. And it's a biography of me and my life, and the good, the bad, and the ugly, and some of the most amazing things that I was able to accomplish in my life. And every once in a while you get to a pearl of wisdom, where I talk about dealing with fear and anxiety or whatever, just little single page things to give you some hope, pearls of wisdom, out of the box thinking, learning how to be a creative problem solver. Boy, do we all need that.
That's for sure.
There are pictures and there are QR codes in the book. And as you're reading it, you take your phone and you scan the QR code, and it immediately takes you to a secret place on my website where you see multimedia content that adds to the story that I'm telling in the book. There are videos of me doing my TED Talk and preparing for the TED Talk and performing for Alex Trebek and meeting and working with Siegfried Roy and just doing things that normal people don't get the opportunity to do because they wait for those opportunities to land in their lap. And that doesn't happen that often. But if you go out and seek out those opportunities, people are bound to say yes. Because you catch them off guard. They're like, but, well, you've already started. I guess it's okay. It's a way of, as I see, interrupted. It's a way to interrupt things, on purpose. Interrupt behaviors, interrupt limiting beliefs. Make the world your oyster.
I love it. Well, John, you have so many amazing things. You mentioned a TED Talk, the documentary. I see pictures all over your wall. You've written a book. You've done so many amazing things. Also had brain surgery. What is it, before we go, that you really want us to know?
You are enough, just the way you are. And it's your own opinions of yourself that are holding you back. Being different is your superpower. So many people are wrapped up in what other people think of you. And that is not the way to live your life. It's a conscious decision. Finding joy and happiness. Happiness is a choice. You can be going through a horrific divorce or a bad medical procedure or whatever, but you can find joyful moments in them. And if you focus on the happy moments, maybe there are only a few, but it gives you that feeling, that warmth, that calm in the pit of your stomach. I talk about finding a mantra, and mine's everything's going to be okay. If you say that often enough when you're dealing with a stressful situation, so many people catastrophize before the inevitable, whatever the trauma is. And we get through it and we go, it wasn't so bad after all. Why did I spend the last 3 weeks, 3 months, 3 days, whatever, worrying about it? All that did was steal joy, steal happiness from our lives, steal our time. And it's our time that we have. That's it. So I guess that's a few things that I think people should take from me and my philosophy on life. And hire me, damn it.
Yeah, hire him for his 14-week coaching program. Your story gives so much hope, because when we see people that have been through traumatic things and they come out on the other side, it just gives hope that, good things can happen, even with bad. It meshes. But I feel like on the theme of your book that I should end this very dramatically, like, ladies and gentlemen, John Kippen.
It's funny when I get introduced when I'm performing magic. Most magicians will have the host give all their accolades. He won this award and performed on Penn and Teller's Fool Us, and he fooled this. And my introduction is John prefers to keep the introduction short, so there's more time for the magic, because magic is what's really important. One last little story before we go.
Yes, please.
As I said, I spent 12 or 13 years hiding my face because I didn't feel comfortable in my own skin. And magic allowed me to conquer those fears and put that in perspective. And then March of 2020 came. And now hiding your face with a mask became not only politically correct, but government mandated. And I sat there after almost 20 years of being myself, wearing my face as a badge of honor. I was not about to hide my face. So I found a company online who would print whatever I wanted, the mask, and I sent them a picture of my face. And they printed the lower half of my face on the mask. And that's the mask I would wear in public. And strangers wouldn't get it, but people who knew me would literally do a double take. It's like, John, are you wearing? Oh my God, you are. Oh. And you would see that light bulb moment in their heads, where they realize John refuses to hide his face, even through a global pandemic. That idea came to me as it was a coping mechanism. I was not going to go back to the way I was. I was not going to do that. And I had to find a solution. That was my solution. And I hope that message resonates with everyone listening, that everything is in your control. It may not be easy decisions, but you have your future and your legacy in your control.
And it goes back to what you said about problem solving. Here you had this thing and you thought outside of the box to solve this problem in a way that honored you.
Yeah. Creative problem solving is the best thing. I was an actor also, and I did a lot of improv. And improv allows you to be in the moment, completely in the moment, and respond quickly to other people's lines without knowing what's coming. And you just got to go with it. Not be worried about saying something inappropriate or forgetting a line or stumbling. It doesn't matter. It's the exercises of being spontaneous and just literally being in the moment. And you do improv for a couple of years, and you can tackle anything in your life. It's an amazing tool.
I love
coming out of your shell.
I love it. Well, thank you so much.
I had fun.
I did too. I was mesmerized by your stories.
And the book is full of stories.
And you have a website, johnkippen.com.
Right. And my coaching website is kippen.coach.
Okay. Well, thank you so much. What an honor and joy to get to meet you and visit with you. Thank you.
And thank you for not interrupting me.
If you love this podcast, here's a big ask. Will you share with your friends and family, subscribe, give us a review, and a 5-star rating so that others looking to reinvent their lives will be able to get the help they're looking for? Thank you in advance.